Good morning and welcome back to Gaming with ADHD. It is Miniature Monday, and as always, we are here to paint. But today we're going to do it a little different because we are joined by a frequent member of the Gaming with ADHD chat and also a fellow YouTuber. We've got the Sixth World joining us. Introduce yourself.
Yeah. So, boy there, chummers. You all know who I am. If you don't, you can find me on YouTube. The channel name is The Sixth World. I cover Shadowrun and Shadowrun adjacent stuff. I do occasionally do some BattleTech stuff, but mostly Shadowrun is my bread and butter. Lore videos a little bit, but mostly like old school book reviews and that sort of thing, and just chatting about um, TTRPGs and Shadowrun in general. So if you like that, come check my channel out when you're done. I think you might enjoy it.
Absolutely. I mean, I enjoy it. That's one of the reasons that I, we started following each other, had a lot of fun, being able to interact online and see your glorious paint jobs. And so that's one of the things where I was like, you know what? I think we need to get him on the channel and let him, strut his stuff in front of the camera so that people can see the awesome that is Dominoes. But anyways, all right, looks like we have Steve Cross in the chat already, and we are doing well, Steve. Yeah, I actually, you know what, I should probably change my camera over to actually show the paint surface. So for those of you watching today, I'm going to be continuing my work on my Ninja Turtles project. I am taking various BattleTech figures and I am painting them to look like characters from the Ninja Turtle series. And Six World, what do you have on your table today?
So, Brian, I got a question for you. What are your two favorite things in this entire planet?
My two favorite things on this entire planet.
Yes, you only get two things. What are your two favorite?
I'm going to say my wife, because if I didn't, I'd probably get in a lot of trouble. And the next, I don't know.
If you're thinking about your kids for the second choice, you can only pick one kid.
I can only pick one kid. I'm gonna eliminate all of them because they've all done plenty of things to annoy me. So we won't do that. I'll say my game collection. That's my second favorite thing.
Both safe answers, but both are incorrect.
Both are incorrect.
Absolutely incorrect. So your
How
two
did I
favorite
get that
things
wrong?
On this planet, as I'm throwing things around while I'm speaking, your two favorite things on this planet are pizza and giant stompy robots.
Oh, that's true.
Of course. So
That's
what I've got
true.
planned is I got a Death Dread.
You've got a wow.
So I got the Orc Combat Patrol, of course, and I've been painting up some Pizza Orcs. I've been posting those on Twitter every now or X or whatever the hell it is. But yeah, I figured I would do some little special and just paint up a pizza dread.
Oh my gosh, that is okay. So I'm gonna be distracted for a second because all right. So I told you I told you about my my friend that I send all of the pictures of the pizza mechs to, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm going to tell him that you're painting it live.
I just hope I have enough contrast paint for this bad boy because I am running very low. I've got enough of the Griffhound orange, but I'm running very low on the blood red. Um, so I'm hoping that I'm gonna have enough. Otherwise, it's gonna be like really awkward because he's gonna have like two tones where I have to pick it up and buy more and all that good stuff.
Yeah, well, we'll figure it out. We'll go we will Hey, you know what? Regardless, I am super excited. All right, so folks, uh, for those of you unaware, Six World here has a tendency to take uh models. I'm just gonna say models at this point because it's BattleTech, it's Warhammer, obviously, and he paints them like pizza, and it's both hunger inducing and amazing, and it's been literally been one of my favorite things. So I am actually super excited.
So I don't
Ooh,
know if anybody can see that. My webcam is kind of crap, but this is one of the ones that I did recently. This is the Yenlo Wang from the Essentials box, painted
oh,
up as Pizza Lo Wang.
look at that, folks, and he's even on a Domino's box. Oh, that's amazing.
And then, of course, because you got the Legend Killer in that same box, and you had that epic battle scene on the front, I had to paint Annoyed Legend Killer.
Oh, look at that, folks. See, this is why I bring people like the Six World on, because they're amazing. And I'm super excited. Actually, I'm actually really excited about you doing this live because I've never like I've seen like some of the in progress shots that you'll post on Twitter, but like usually it's like one intermediate shot and then one, you know, look, it's finished shot. So like to actually see how you do it, I'm kind of excited about that. So that's going to be really cool. Um all right. So while we're doing that, I'm also going to subject Six World to my regular interview questions. I know he's super excited about
Of
that.
course.
But let's all right. We should probably get started. People are like, this is supposed to be a painting stream, and they're not doing anything. So all right. So first question, um, and you can be as detailed as you want. But tell us, where'd you grow up? What was it like? Um, and what was it that got you into gaming?
So we're going deep for this one then. So, um, originally I'm from Iowa. A lot of my family is still up in Iowa, Nebraska, and Minnesota, and all of that area. I haven't been up there for years, but I do have a lot of almost all my family is up in the Midwest. I got some family that's in the Northeast in like New Hampshire, but they're all crazy. So
Who
yeah,
isn't crazy in New Hampshire? Let's be honest.
I got an aunt and uncle and cousins up there. My aunt's wonderful. I love her, but she's a little nuts. Let's just say so. But so moved down to Florida when I was probably 10. Um, and then yeah, lived in Florida ever since. And I remember getting introduced to BattleTech probably when I was 12, when I was in 6th grade. A neighbor kid invited me over to his house and said, "Hey, I got this game. It's these big robots fighting each other. You want to play?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And it was pretty much that's where I fell in love with the game. I got involved in an after school club that was run by some teachers who were extremely into BattleTech, probably to an unhealthy level. The collection of terrain and mechs that they had was gigantic. Easily, probably 2 regiments of mechs
Wow.
is what they had. They weren't like painted up in any house schemes or anything like that. They were like color coded schemes, and they also had a very extensive. Um, at the time, it was called Space Marine, but basically Epic 40K collection that occasionally came out during BattleTech games when we needed like infantry and stuff like that. And I got into Warhammer. Same neighbor kid that introduced me to BattleTech introduced me to Warhammer, and yeah, pretty much from there it's been nonstop gaming. Well, not quite nonstop gaming, but yeah, you know, you take that break, of course, for a number of years. But I got back into the game, into BattleTech. I got back into painting probably like 3 years ago, just before COVID hit, and then I got back into BattleTech last year, probably, and ended up actually hooking up with a local BattleTech group.
Okay.
That I don't play as near as much BattleTech as I would like because I got to travel like an hour north to get there. But it's a good bunch of people, and we have a lot of fun. And we just had a tournament, and I came in dead last, but I won best painted, so it's all good.
There you go. Yeah, I why did my brain just shut off? Okay, for the record, folks in chat, I've been up all night and I'm at like 70 hours of work for the week. So I'm gonna be a little bit scatterbrained, but I'm still we're gonna figure this out.
That's okay. You
Anyhow,
sleep when you're dead. It's fine.
right? Or like I'll fall asleep on stream. Maybe that will be like awkward and weird, but we'll see. So I did actually I thought that was actually kind of interesting where you said that like you know your friends just like, hey, I've got a game about giant stompy robots, and you know that's what brought you in. Um you know, I don't know if you've heard me tell the story. I know I've told it a couple of times, but like for me, I started with Robotech. Um and then like other kids are like, "Oh, you like Robotech? Well, you should check out BattleTech because it's all the same robots, but then
Mhm.
it's an actual game that you can play with it."
Yeah, yeah,
And so it was, and it's been downhill ever since for me. Um, but
yeah. No, I know. I actually before that, I never watched Robotech. Never really gave it a second thought. But I was like, you know what? I may as well try it because I'm 12, and what 12-year-old kid does not love giant stoppy robots?
I mean, let's be honest. I'm nearing 50, and I still love giant stompy robots. Let's be
Exactly,
honest here.
exactly. I mean, that's why we go to see movies like Pacific Rim and all that good stuff.
Like literally, we were driving to the theater to see Pacific Rim, and like I managed to get all of the boys just yelling, you know, giant robots versus giant monsters, and just like cheering and screaming about it the whole time. My wife
Yeah,
looked at us like we were idiots.
I mean,
It
because
was great.
that's all you need. If you've got giant stompy robots in any shape or form fighting a giant monster in any other shape or form, you don't need anything else. You're good.
Yeah, pretty much. So, so was BattleTech your first introduction to gaming, or
Yeah, BattleTech was my first introduction to tabletop wargaming. Then Warhammer Fantasy. I didn't really get into 40K until I was in high school. Um, but BattleTech was the big one. Um,
okay?
and then the other game that I ended up playing a lot in college was, or not college, high school was Gorka Morka. That was probably my first exposure to 40. Well, not my first exposure because I had played it before, but I had never gotten like into it or anything like that. But that was probably like the first time I actually delved into the 40K universe a little bit. Um, was with Gorka Morka, and that was probably the best game Games Workshop has ever made. For anybody who doesn't know what Gorka Morka is, it's basically Necromunda but with orcs and vehicles. Um, and it is exactly as awesome as it sounds. I mean, there's all sorts like this was before third edition, so this was before like the grim dark stuff, so it was peak ridiculousness for orcs for 40K. So you had The aesthetics of the game were very similar to modern orcs because it was like a Mad Max style world where the orcs ruled and all that stuff. So the minis were it was like the beginnings of the modern orc aesthetic with it. But the game was just it was super fun. It really it was like Necromunda. It encouraged narrative play and all that, and there was just a lot of stuff that you could get up to. I remember there was one campaign I played in at the local store where I had an orc youth, which is like the lowest type of orc, is like an inexperienced young orc, basically a newborn orc. And every single battle, he would go out of action. He would get taken out. He never died. Never actually died. But when you got taken out of battle, there were like you would roll on like an injury chart and see if anything happened to your orc. He, and it ranged from minor injuries to like debilitating stuff to actual death. So he never actually died. I never rolled that. But every time he went out of action, I rolled something that he needed a cybernetic replacement for. So by the end of the campaign, he gained no experience that campaign at all. So
Because you have to survive.
yeah, because you have to survive to get experience, yes. Or you have to like actually shoot something and take something out or something like that. And he never got the chance to do any of that because he was probably by the third game, everybody was targeting him just because they thought it was funny. But every time he would go out of action, I would roll something that he would need a cybernetic replacement for. And by the end of the game, he was more machine than orc. So he had like a full cyborg replacement body. He had like a shooter for one arm, and he had like a giant hammer for the other arm.
And he
It
had
was
no
just
idea how to use them.
had absolutely no idea how to use them. No, but that sixth game, he did not go out of action almost immediately. That sixth game, it took a couple of rounds for him to do it. So the final game, he survived longer than most, but I don't think he ever actually killed anything the entire time.
That is fantastic. So I don't know, man. I cannot think of questions right now. This is so dumb. So okay, so like I had Gorka Morka. Like I actually got it because I was getting White Dwarf, and at one point they're like, "Oh, hey, if you subscribe for a year, we'll send you a free copy of Gorka Morka." I'm like, I like free games. But
yeah, they were really pushing Gorka Morka hard in White Dwarf for a while. The game got quite a bit of support at one point.
Sort of. If you know how Games Workshop operated, you'd be like, oh, so they did support it, but they didn't care.
Well, they supported it more than most games, or like as much as a Games Workshop secondary game could get supported at the time.
Yeah, exactly. And that is one thing that always just frustrated me about it, just because it's like they made some really good games. Battlefleet Gothic.
Oh yeah. Battlefleet Gothic was great. I had that. It was phenomenal. And then I started getting into it, and they canceled it, and it was like, okay, well, whatever.
Yeah,
And this was like the '90s. The specialist games didn't get anywhere near the support that they get today. In the '90s, like Blood Bowl, it got like a box set and a couple of teams. You maybe got a White Dwarf article about it occasionally, but for the most part, that was it. I mean, today, they get special releases, forge-rolled models, and all that good stuff. But yeah, back then, like even Necromunda, which I think is like one of the flagship specialist games and one of the games that Games Workshop's doing best with, even Necromunda back then got very little support. So
yeah, it's always just baffled me how like because they put so much time and so much investment into it for like 6 months worth of releases,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, but why?
Mm-hmm.
You've got these games. They're good. They have followings. Um, yeah, we have a bunch of people in chat all talking about like Battlefleet Gothic. Um, and but yeah, then they just be like, nope, we're done. And it's just like, but that it I don't know. I don't
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand game companies sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, Games Workshop today makes more sense than they did back then.
And and I don't think they make sense at all.
Yeah.
But that's a separate issue. So, mm, geez, hold on one second.
Yeah, don't die midstream.
Trying not to. I just got something in my throat, and it's like I got to clear this out, but I'm not going to do it, right on the stream and annoy everyone.
Hey,
Yeah.
it'd be good
So
for views.
it'll be that's right. Gaming with ADHD now with a snuff film. Um, wow, that got dark real quick. Um, so then did well, okay, so you went from BattleTech into Warhammer Fantasy, um, but um, then like I mean, have you always been playing, or did you like take a break at some point, or
So I took a break from everything in college because I had just a tiny dorm room and no space. So, can't really take any minis with you, can't do any painting, definitely can't play any games because you got classes going on. So, I didn't actually get back into miniature wargaming for quite a while after that. Because then, got married and all that good stuff. Um, so I was more into RPGs. Um, Probably up until probably like 3 years ago when I got back into the hobby, I was more into RPGs than miniature wargaming because RPGs are for the most part cheaper. You don't need a whole mess of models for those, and
right? You just need
it's
a
easier to find
library.
players.
Um, so now, what did you play in the RPG scene? I mean, I know one obviously, but was it
Yeah, I mean you can probably guess on one of them. No,
was it
so what my first RPG was Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, AD&D.
first or
Um,
second edition?
yeah, the second edition. Yeah.
Okay,
And loved it. Absolutely loved it. And this was the same friend who introduced me to BattleTech, introduced me to AD&D as well. So he like started the drip feed for gaming and nerddom with BattleTech, I guess, and then just kind of slowly brought in everything else and turned me into a junkie, I guess. So
which your
yeah,
wife
AD&D
is
was my
so
first was
appreciative
my
of.
first game. My go-to character for that was a ranger with two bastard swords because that it was cool.
I mean, as
Um,
one does.
yeah, and then I've told this story a couple of times on my channel, but one day I was at the friendly local gaming store looking for some stuff for my dark elves, and I see Shadowrun Second Edition staring at me with that beautiful cover from the shelf. I'm like, huh, what's this? And I picked it up and thumbed through it a little bit, bought it, read it, and ended up running it. And that was a mistake because I'm now a perpetual GM in my group and I've never played it. I say
um,
never played it. I have played it occasionally. I managed to convince one of my friends to run Shadowrun occasionally, but yeah, for the most part, if there's Shadowrun going on in my group, I'm the one who's running it, which I'm fine with. But it'd be nice to play it once in a while.
That's fair. Okay, so real quick, because you did mention the cover, and for second edition, obviously that would have been the Larry Elmore cover.
Hmm.
Now discounting nostalgia, because let's be honest, the nostalgia doesn't quite like, I mean, that we've all got some bias there, but what's your favorite Shadowrun core rulebook cover art?
I would actually, I love the Elmore stuff, but I would actually have to say that third edition is probably my favorite cover art because
That's the Paul Bonner one, right?
I think so. Yeah, it's the one with like the troll and he's firing up at the at I forget what the story was. He was firing up at some drones or something like that. But like the cover art directly related to the fiction story that was at the beginning of that book. But I think that's probably my favorite, mainly because that's the book that I dealt with the most, and that's the edition that I ran the most. I didn't really run second edition a whole lot, and I didn't actually really start running Shadowrun intensely until I picked up the third edition book. So I think for that reason, third edition probably gets my vote as my favorite one.
Okay, I knew I liked you because I'll be honest, that one is mine as well. Um, I so like for me, it's really weird. Like, okay, I've literally never played the game, uh, but um, Mutant Chronicles
Yeah,
had the same artist that did the third edition cover.
yeah,
Um, and there's something about his art style that it's it's just silly enough, but it still has that serious feel. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah, and so yeah, like going back to that the third edition Shadowrun cover, just the look of it, it's got that uh like it hasn't gotten to like the the kind of, for lack of a better way to put it, like the angsty covers that you get.
Hmm.
Because we've got to be more serious now. It's like
Yeah.
Shadowrun. It's orcs and you know
Oh
orcs
yeah, no,
and
it was
submachine
still
guns.
fun. It was still fun back then. Rachel over on my channel in my chat, she's saying that yeah, she loves the art in the first edition Shadowrun books. I like that old art as well. It's very 80s.
Oh yeah,
But
and
it is the old school stuff just hits it hits harder than the modern stuff does.
it,
I mean, the
it
modern stuff's not bad, but it's it just it doesn't compare to like the 80s and 90s Shadowrun. It really doesn't.
well, Shadowrun and I mean, okay, let's just put it this way: 80s and 90s Fossa, like their stuff. Like I don't know exactly what it is, but like they, I mean, because obviously they used a lot of the same artists across. Yeah, it's like, oh, we need a picture of a mech warrior pilot or
Mhm.
a troll or whatever. You're gonna get they're gonna contact the same group of artists.
Yeah.
uh but yeah, that 80s and 90s style, um I just absolutely love that stuff. It is it's so much fun. um so let's see. Glenn says Fields of Fire cover is when Shadowrun introduced the hard-boiled mercenary feel. Okay, I will go for I'll give that. Brent from your chat says Mutant Chronicles the movie is underrated even as a guilty pleasure movie.
I will agree with that. I saw the Mutant Chronicles movie, had absolutely no idea what it was. I had heard of the game, of course, but never played the game, the RPG or the miniatures game. And I saw the movie, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'll watch this. I got nothing better to." and it was surprisingly good. It was
I,
I mean, that's all there is to say. It's not the best sci-fi movie in the world, of course. It's very much, I would class it very much as a B movie. But it's a pretty good movie. It's a nice, fun little movie. I didn't feel like I wasted my time when I watched it.
all right, so I'm gonna push back on that a little bit
Uh
because, well, okay, here's the thing: I can't tell you anything about it at all.
oh.
Like, I know I've watched it, but for lack of a better way to put it, like, it was completely and utterly forgettable to me. And I think it might be because, like, it had nothing to do with the source material.
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah, no, it had absolutely nothing to do with the actual mutant chron. I mean, it very much like it was definitely a Hollywood adaptation of a miniatures game, and it had just the bare minimum amount to do with the actual game itself. Like the very basics of the story was there, and then they completely did something different. But I mean, even though you can't really say like describe the plot a whole lot or anything like that, it's a movie that, like, if I'm flipping through the TV channels and it comes on, yeah, I'd stop and watch it.
Like, I'd probably give it a second chance. I just I I get so okay. Like, I complain about this all the time. I know that I am way too judgmental. I try to cut, I try to cut some slack, you know, eh, but I'm bad at it.
You're stubborn mule.
According to the peanut gallery, I am a stubborn mule.
I mean, she's probably right about that.
There's, I mean, remember what I said about my children. No, no, it's one of those things where, like, when somebody just isn't like respecting or quote unquote taking the property seriously, like, it just turns me off.
Hmm.
Um like, looking at, like, the things that they're doing, like with Dungeons and Dragons, or um it's like, but that's never what the game was. Why is
Yeah,
it?
I mean, that's definitely true. I think Mutant Chronicles came out, though, what, like, mid 2000s, somewhere around there. It's an
Somewhere around
old
there.
movie. Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's very much an old movie. So I don't think it was so much about, the whole, modern audiences thing that we see today in a lot of stuff. I think it was literally just the studio saw a property and they're like, "Hey, we got this script. Let's just shoehorn into this and make a little bit of money off of it." And the game company was probably like, "Oh, a big Hollywood production company wants to do a movie on our game. Okay, wait, this isn't about our game, but whatever, we got paid." So, but
Yeah, right,
yeah,
exactly.
no, I definitely see the point you're making about, like, stuff going on today, without a doubt. Yeah.
But yeah, that's just my complaint on that movie. But I mean, then you look at, like, that's the interesting thing. Like, so what do you think of, like, we'll just throw it out there. What do you think of what Catalyst has been doing with Shadowrun, since you're the big Shadowrun guy?
So honestly, fifth and sixth edition, I haven't looked at all for the
Oh,
most
you
part.
didn't even look at fifth. Interesting.
No, I did not. I stopped with fourth edition. I had heard stuff about fifth edition, and what I heard was not good. So I stayed away from it. So the only experience that I have really with Catalyst is what they do with fourth edition. I think what they did rules wise with fourth edition, was, I think it was decent. I think it definitely simplified a lot of things that needed to be simplified, like decking and hacking,
Hmm.
because literally second and third edition Shadowrun, um, if you have a decker, you're basically doing 2 different adventures at the same time. You have to write 2 different
Right.
adventures, one for the decker and then one for everybody else in Meat Space, and it's just the rules themselves are convoluted as hell and hard to understand to begin with, and then you just throw that in there, and it's a huge pain in the ass just to do anything with it. So I liked how they simplified that, but at the same time, I think they oversimplified things, because there's not really a lot of difference between a technomancer and a decker. And in third edition, there was a lot of difference between an otaku, which was the proto technomancer, and a decker. There was a huge amount of difference. They were 2 completely different things. Yeah, they both interface with the Matrix, but they did it in completely different ways and had absolutely completely different effects,
Mhm.
on the virtual world, and interacted with it in completely different ways. And in fourth edition, like a technomancer is just somebody who, well, you're a mage, but virtually. So I think they oversimplified some things. Magic, I think they also oversimplified it as well, so where like everything's all kind of samey same now. Story wise, I didn't like what they did with fourth edition at all. Um, the Shadowrun timeline for me stops in third edition. I didn't like the thing that I didn't like the most about it was probably the stuff they did with Denver and Ghostwalker. I thought that was just stupid as hell.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Real
my feelings on it. I still play fourth edition. I like it. I'll run it. I just set everything in the third edition
You like the
time.
rules, not the meta game, we'll say.
Yeah, I like the rules, but I don't like the changes they made to the setting for the most part. Yeah.
Got it. All right. So real quick, we'll kind of you know like backtrack a little bit. Glenn asked me, but I want to get your opinion on this. So Glenn says, "Do you think the most recent D&D movie didn't respect the source material? What do you think?"
I actually enjoyed the D&D movie, surprisingly enough. I didn't see it in theaters because I wasn't going to pump up the box office value of it because screw wizards. Um, but I did see it when it came out on Amazon Prime, and it was a pretty good movie. I thought acting wise and visually, I went to film school in college, so I kind of look at things technically first. Um, it's a beautiful movie. The acting is really excellent because I mean you've got Chris Pine, you've got I forget who played the name of the chick who played the barbarian, but she's always the hard as nails military type in any movie that she's in, and she's absolutely fabulous at it.
Well,
Hugh
and nothing
Hugh
against
Grant,
her,
of
but let's
course,
be honest, she looks like she's built like a brick.
she does.
So,
She looks like she could crack your skull and not even break a sweat. I mean, she's not like this small little
no.
waif of it. She could probably kick my ass in real life.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. We are old and gamers. But
Yeah, this is true.
yeah.
The I thought the sorcerer. I thought he was whiny at times, but I thought he was pretty good. He was a pretty good actor. The chick who played the druid, I didn't like her at all. And then as far as like not respecting the source material, um, I don't. It didn't feel like it because it was set in Forgotten Realms. It didn't feel like a Forgotten Realms movie. It felt like they were just trying to cram as much stuff as they possibly could in there. And what I had heard was that originally it was supposed to be a movie about Dritz Do'Urden, and they changed that and reshot it, which kind of explains like all the Underdark stuff that just kind of came out of nowhere and like the Paladin and everything. It was less of a D&D movie, I think, and it was more like almost something like somebody trying to like make a movie about a D&D game itself, like an actual
Right.
movie session.
Yeah, I like for me, I'm kind of mixed on it because I'm pretty much in the same boat as you, where it's like technically it was done very well. It was like they obviously put a big budget behind it. They
Hmm.
had they had good actors. Like even the wizard, like, yeah, he was a little bit whiny, but like, I mean, he was quote unquote a new wizard.
Yeah,
He didn't have the con. So it's like, okay, I like I didn't have problems with the character.
yeah,
As far as respecting the source, I think they did to a point, but I think the problem is that they didn't do anything to make it a D&D movie. It
hmm,
was a fantasy movie
yeah, yeah,
with D&D labels on it, if
yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah. No, I'll agree with that, and I think part of the problem is D&D as a whole. It's different than other IPs. By the way, I'm also doing some BattleTech things too, so I like working on different things at the same time, so I don't get bored. But I
Well,
think part of the
you gotta let speed paints dry.
well, exactly, yeah. This guy's gonna take a little bit longer to dry, but I think D&D is kind of tough to do a like a quote unquote D&D movie. Um, because it's so disjointed. There's not like despite what Wizards likes to pretend today, there's not like D&D canon
Right.
necessarily. So it's not something that you can it's not unless you're getting very specific with it to the point where people probably won't like normies probably won't recognize that it's a D&D movie. Like,
Right.
you make a Dritz Do'Urden movie, we'll just go with that rumor. You make a Dritz Do'Urden movie, everybody who plays D&D is going to knows who Dritz Do'Urden is. And
Right.
everybody who plays D&D is going to recognize that movie. People who don't play D&D, they're not going to know what the hell is going on.
No,
So,
exactly. And so do you know who Dungeon Delver is, either on Twitter or on YouTube?
I'm pretty sure I followed him.
Okay. So he actually like he's like his game is first edition D&D.
Yeah. Hmm.
Like that's his game.
Right,
Um
right. One of the OSR type of folks.
no, like screw OSR. No, he's just playing the original stuff.
Oh, okay.
Uh
So not OSR. He's just going old school. Okay,
yeah,
gotcha, gotcha.
exactly. And he's pretty fun, and it's fun to watch his stuff. But when the movie came out, he actually like on Twitter, he put up this thread about here's how I would do a D&D movie.
Okay.
And I thought it was absolutely brilliant.
Hmm.
Um Basically it starts out where like so there's there's like the heroes like around a table at a bar, and like they start talking to the bartender, and then it like the bartender comes out with like this Sean Connery voice, and then suddenly it breaks back to the players around the table,
Hmm.
and they're all laughing at him and like, oh, what are you doing? It's like, oh, it's the best I can do, something along those lines. And so you see that it's the players playing the game, not
Right,
just, like, oh, here's generic fantasy story.
right, right, right.
And then basically the big reveal is the DM has like terminal cancer. You know, okay, that sucks. But the whole thing is, okay, we're gonna do one last campaign. And so it goes, and then he said it would go back and forth between the players and the heroes,
Hmm.
culminating in the big battle at the end of the campaign, and basically show the movie about, like the friends and sitting around the table and what it is, and showing D&D, not just
Right.
generic fantasy movie.
Right. So similar in style to what Gamers Darkness Rising did, but like with a bigger, like with a Hollywood budget type of
I oh yeah, because yeah, that one started with just the friends sitting around the table. Okay,
deal.
yeah.
Yeah.
He added the cancer element. I'm like, how did okay, no, I got what you're saying. Yeah, exactly. Something along those lines
Mhm.
that would like make you think of D&D, not just
Yeah.
generic fantasy movie. So
I get it. I would watch a movie like that. I think it could be really good. The problem is if you're a studio, how the hell do you market that? I mean, that's the big thing. I mean, a generic fantasy movie, it's easy as hell to market that sort of thing.
well,
But
I think you market it as generic fantasy movie.
mm,
Show the stuff about the heroes, but then when you sit down, you get the emotional impact because then you also see the players. Does that
okay,
make
so
sense?
bait and switch.
A little bit. I mean, because you're still getting the heroic story,
Right,
but you're
right,
just
right.
getting the player story mixed in with it.
See,
So
I, it's doable. I don't. I Problem is, studios are dumb,
that's fair.
and I don't see anybody taking a risk on that. But I definitely get the idea, and I think it would work pretty well. I just don't think anybody in Hollywood right now could do it.
Probably not. But I think something like that would stay a little bit more, quote unquote, as Glenn was saying, stay a little bit more faithful to the source material. Um, even if, quote unquote, generic fantasy movie is, closer to the in-game lore.
Hmm.
Um, anyways, that's
I mean, I suppose you could do. I suppose you could do kind of. Well, I was gonna say you could do kind of like Stranger Things style, but I don't know where I was going with that. I had a thought and then lost it, so I'm just gonna gloss over it and be like, yeah, yeah, okay, whatever.
hey, that is totally fine, man. I mean, like you've seen me on this stream. Everybody's like, this guy's an idiot. Why is he talking? Not you, me. But let's see.
The re-
Rachel Gigiri says we have this kind of movie where you see the player play Donjon and Dragon. I didn't see it yet. Rachel, I have no idea what you are
oh,
talking
what
about. She says the Battle of
what
Battle.
what country is it in?
Oh, wait a second. No,
It's
Rachel, are you talking about the Brazilian car commercial? I think she's talking about the Brazilian car commercial.
it sounds like a oh, from Quebec. Okay. Okay. It sounds like it's uh a a foreign movie. It sounds like it might be a Canadian movie. I'll have to try and find it. It sounds interesting. But
Yeah, no, I mean,
for
sure.
anybody who's looking for that same style that Bryant was describing, um Gamers Darkness Rising. It's a very low budget production, but it's literally, it's a bunch of friends getting together to play D&D, and it's a movie about the D&D campaign essentially. It's a very good movie.
Well,
Um
and there's actually like three of them. Darkness Rising, I think, is
yeah.
the second.
Yeah, the first one is so the film troupe that did it, they started doing their stuff in like college. So like the first one is very much a college film class movie.
Oh, if
The
they did it on anything better than VHS tapes, I'd be shocked.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They also did Demon Hunters as well, which actually became an RPG, which was actually very fun and one of my favorite RPGs to run. But yeah, it's very, very low budget. Um, Darkness Rising has you definitely can tell it has a better budget because I think they were an actual professional company by that point.
Right.
Um, but it's very low budget stuff. But they do a good job with it.
Yeah, well, and I think you can find it on Amazon because I think I watched those
Yeah,
not too long ago.
I'm pretty sure it is on Amazon. I know I have it on DVD somewhere, but I think I have seen it on Prime. Yeah.
Glenn says, "What if there was a movie where a group of people in the real world got transported to the D&D world through a carnival ride tunnel?"
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'd watch the hell out of that.
I mean, I'm not going to lie, I have watched the hell out of that. Uh, I might even have it on DVD.
I
Um,
don't think if it's an actual movie, I haven't seen it, but I would. It sounds like something I would watch.
you don't know what he's talking about, do you?
I don't know.
The D&D cartoon.
Oh well, okay. So in all fairness, the D&D cartoon was a little bit before my time.
I am so old. The fact that I'm friends with someone I now okay, I mean I'm friends with plenty of people, but with someone who just said the D&D cartoon is before my time.
I have seen like an episode or two of it, but it was
Well,
rough.
the it was, but I mean like okay, first off, like anything out of the 80s is going to be rough
Well, this is
regardless,
true. Yeah.
you know. Um but it probably holds up a lot better than anything like oh my gosh, like some of the crap that kids these days watch. Yes, I said kids these
This is true.
days.
I will agree with that.
um
Some of the stuff that I've seen, it makes me glad my kid just watches YouTube for the most part.
I mean, that could be a double-edged sword.
Yeah,
Um
yeah.
I mean, we're on YouTube.
But he's not watching my stuff, so he's got better taste. So
Okay, that's fair. So, oh, oh my gosh. All right, regain my composure. So one thing that I did want to ask you, how did you get into doing YouTube?
way back when, this is probably 10 years ago, I want to say. I don't get I don't get political on my channel. So this is as close as I'm going to get to it. Um but I actually for a number of years I was a blogger, an amateur political commentator, and a quote unquote journalist. I did have some stuff that was cited nationally.
Wow,
Um,
fancy.
if you have heard there, so the one thing that I did that was cited nationally in some of the larger blogs never got picked up by like mainstream stuff, but there was a if you've heard of Markeith Lloyd
Nope.
at all. It was a huge, huge story in Orlando, um, and Florida in general. But basically, Markeith Lloyd, real piece of garbage. He essentially killed his pregnant girlfriend. Went on the run for a couple of weeks. Got spotted by a cop. Had a shootout where he killed the cop. And then went on a chase where another cop was killed and two more were injured. And he was on the run for a couple of weeks after that, and then the cops finally caught up with him, and I did some coverage of that trial. Um, well, it was the pre-trial stuff, but I did coverage of that incident and the pre-trial stuff, and that got picked up by some larger national blogs. So
Oh, okay.
that was kind of cool, but yeah, this dude was a real scumbag. I don't. I think he's been. if I remember correctly, he's been convicted of killing his girlfriend, and he got the death penalty for that. And now I think they're getting ready to do the trial for him killing the cop. So those were two separate incidents that he was being tried for. I think the cop trial is set either starting or set to start in a couple of months.
And this was 10 years ago.
No, this was more recent than 10 years, but 10 years ago
okay.
I started doing the whole blogging thing. That's just something nationally that got picked up.
Got
And then
it.
I started doing a podcast, probably 7 years ago, 8 years ago,
Okay.
7 years ago, where I fancied myself an amateur political commentator. Did some coverage with that. Had some fun back before everything got completely and utterly insane. And yeah, that's how I got started into YouTube and blogging. And then when I started doing the hobby stuff, I was like, well, you know what? Why don't I just go ahead and do that same stuff, but with painting and Shadowrun and stuff. So
Okay.
very convoluted story about how I just stumbled into it, essentially.
Well, so why'd you decide to switch from political commentary to nerd commentary?
So, couple of reasons. Number one, people got batshit crazy.
Okay.
Like it used to be fun way back when, and then as things have progressed, not getting too specific, but people have gotten extremely insane over the
So
last couple of years.
real quick, I'll say fun back when you could argue and then go get a drink afterwards.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Back when Twitter was the Wild West and wasn't censored all to hell and all that good stuff. And then the pandemic hit, and of course stress levels went way up, for numerous reasons which I won't cite, but I essentially got into a fight with the county,
Oh
which
my.
I won't elaborate on, but
Sure.
that was part of it. And then I also had a friend who got swatted.
Jeez.
So for anybody who doesn't know what swatting is, swatting is a particularly egregious form of doxing where um, somebody basically calls in a fake 911 report in effort to have an excessive police response. Hence the name swatting, because the goal is to get the SWAT team to show up at this location. And there have been people who have been killed in swatting incidents before. It's something that started, I think, with gaming is where the problem started, but it kind of branched out into other aspects of it. But yeah, I had a friend who was doing the same thing I was doing. Real nice guy, but he got swatted. Luckily, his dad worked for the sheriff, so nothing. It wasn't a huge. It was a huge deal, but it wasn't a huge danger. It wasn't a potentially dangerous incident.
Sure,
So,
sure.
but once that happened, he quit, and I was like, yeah, okay, I'm out. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like, and the dumb thing is that even in the gaming side, there seems to be a lot of that where it's just like, instead of just like when edition wars used to be like the high or the stress point,
Mm-hmm.
is Shadowrun 4th edition better than Shadowrun 3rd edition, or whatever stupid argument you want to make,
Yeah,
just for fun.
mm-hmm.
It has just gotten to be just a pain, even if you take the politics out of it. So
Yep.
anyhow, I mean, I'll be honest, that's one of the things that I liked about your going to your channel, it was just a, hey, here's this cool Shadowrun thing that I want to talk about. And I think we need a lot. I think we need a lot more of that.
Definitely. I mean, I get spicy on my YouTube, or on my Twitter rather. I mean, you follow me. You've seen some of the hot takes that I've had. I've
right.
gotten into a little bit of trouble with some of the I guess the incorrect people or correct people. I don't know how to word it. I've gotten into trouble on Twitter occasionally,
We're gonna
but
call them
my
grumpy
YouTube
people.
channel, for the most part, I try and stay away from that sort of thing because I just want to talk about Shadow.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Like when I started mine, um like I I wanted to have like a like a commentary portion of my channel where, it wasn't just, like reviews or unboxing videos, which, let's be honest, lately I feel like I'm doing is unboxing videos, but that's because I have an addiction to buying games. But look, when they're on clearance, it's really hard to say no.
I
Don't judge
mean,
me.
if it's on clearance, then you'd be stupid for saying that. Really,
Exactly. Exactly.
plus you're supporting a small business, so really you're doing a service.
I'm helping them clear out their trash to make it my treasure.
There you go. Exactly. You are putting a local game store owner's kids through college.
I am doing a service here.
By the way, if you use that line on the peanut gallery, next time you want to buy something, make sure that you record that and upload it to YouTube. Just live stream
Look,
that to YouTube.
I am not turning Gaming with ADHD into a snuff channel. Not doing it.
Oh god.
Dang it, Nate.
All right, so I've broken Bryant on his own channel.
Oh, totally worth it.
uh, yeah, no,
No,
I mean, so I think with gaming, especially nowadays, especially with TTRPGs, too many people are trying to make everything political. Everything is, yeah. I mean, someone infamous said it better than I did, but I'm not going to get into the quote. But everything is political. Everything is this. Everything is that. You have to point it all out. No, you don't have to do that. Just sit down and play the damn game. Just
yeah.
have fun.
Yeah, I mean, that was actually one thing that when I was talking with Jason Hardy about Hollow Streets, um you know like so like with the OGL there was like a big hullabaloo about like morality clauses, and
Hmm.
if they were gonna put that in the OGL and kind of control what you can do.
Yeah,
Now, Hollow Streets isn't an OGL, so they do have a bit more restrictions with it.
yeah.
But I
Which
actually,
I understand that aspect of
yeah,
it. I mean,
it's a licensed property.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
you're not just dealing with Catalyst. You're dealing with Catalyst and Tops and whatever the next 8 levels of
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
bureaucracy
I mean,
are.
I get it. It's brand protection to a certain extent. You want to make sure that you're not putting out product that puts your corporate partners in a bad light. So that I understand. The whole OGL thing, of course, that's completely different, and I'm pretty 90% sure that the whole morality clause thing was an effort by uh, Wizards of the Coast to be able to steal content, since they had that clause where they could take your stuff and sell it and not have to give you a dime. And then, oh yeah, by the way, they can ban you from making any D&D content ever again.
Yeah, probably. but yeah, so like the way that Jason put it was, he's like, look, stay away from political content
Hmm.
unless it's in-game political content. And it's like, okay, yeah, I get that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or like, it's like don't do racist stuff unless it's in-game stuff, like Humanist Paula Club.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, number one, it's already in the game. Kind of hard for them
Hmm.
to say no, you can't use it. Um, but again, it's very much an in-game thing. So yeah, just keep it there and just like have fun at the table.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Like I mean, on one hand, people say everything is political. On the other hand, you have people who say nothing is political. Yeah, politics comes into games like that, and it can be in games and stuff like that. But it's got to fit within the story and within the world and advance the story forward. It's just like that's fine. I don't have a problem with that.
but I mean, also, if it's going to be something that's going to stress out the game table and ruin your friendships, is it worth putting in the game?
Hmm.
I mean, like personally, I would think hard about it. Like, is this really worth annoying? Um, uh, is this really worth annoying my friends about it? Let's see. Glenn, real quick, Glenn says, I too hate that everything is political. You guys are conservative, though, so we may have different ideas on what is political. That's true.
Yeah, probably. But I mean, that's the case for everything. But I mean, you can disagree with people politically, and you can still play games with them. You can still, have a conversation. Like I have had the same gaming group since high school, just about. Um, Nobody in that group agrees with me politically, like at all, on anything for the most part, except for taxes and how they're too damn high and all that good stuff. But I think
No,
everybody
the
can agree
rent
on.
is too damn high. I mean, no.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's one thing that we can all agree on. But I mean, you can still you can play games. You can have fun with people.
Well,
That's
just based off of that statement, Glenn invited me to come play Shadowrun online with him one day. It was great. It was a wonderful time. Like it was fantastic. I had no idea about his politics. I didn't care. I had a great game.
hmm
So,
well, it's like with the BattleTech group that I play with. Um, Nobody's gotten into politics at all. I could probably take a guess as to the politics of 90% of the people in the group. Um, but
but why?
yeah, we don't it doesn't come up at all. The one time that somebody did try to bring politics up, they got smacked down hard, and it never happened again. So really, the only politics we care about are the only good Capellan is a dead Capellan,
I mean, that's fair.
which yeah, I think everybody can agree with that.
I mean, Max
That
Liao
and
from Legion of Myth
Alaric
probably
Ward is
disagrees,
our
but
our savior and the greatest military mind since uh
Stefan
what's
Emmerich,
his name? The guy with the chicken.
the guy with the chicken,
Not Colonel Sanders, General So.
General. That's fair. I really can't argue with that. Um, hold on one second, because there's another question in chat, and I just
Let's see.
oh
Geek Goblin asked if any of us have tried Sprawl Runners. I have not. I've heard of it. Refresh my memory. Is Sprawl Runners like is it
that
a card
that's
game?
the no Sprawl Runners is the Savage Worlds
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, the
cyberpunk.
Savage Worlds version of Shadowrun. I haven't played Savage Worlds at all, and it's actually a shame because it's one of the systems that I looked at a lot when it came out because when it came out I was really into that type of role playing because I had the Serenity RPG and the all the Cortex RPG books and that sort of thing. but I haven't tried any Savage World stuff. I really need to fix that at some point because I've heard really
So
good things about Savage Worlds.
here's like, I'm gonna tell this, and you're gonna be like, you're gonna call me a horrible person. I know it.
I mean, we're probably gonna do that regardless, but go ahead.
That's fair. So the so as far as Savage Worlds goes, uh Shane Hensley, the guy that created Deadlands, which turned into Savage Worlds,
Mhm.
lives 2 miles away from me. He is a dear friend of mine. I have never played Savage Worlds.
I mean, that's fair. I do love me some Deadlands though. Deadlands is really awesome.
Yeah, it's I that was one of those stories that like so for me, the thing that's always pulled me into a game is the story.
Mhm.
Um, like what is like it doesn't even necessarily have to be like the best story, but just like a fun story that is going to entertain.
Yeah, yeah.
And the idea behind and how they executed Deadlands, I thought was fantastic. Um, so yeah, I've always loved it. Well,
I've
since I
I've
found
heard
out
good
about it.
things about the Savage Worlds edition of Deadlands. I've never played it. Because my group we run classic Deadlands because I have a friend who has literally all of the books, all of the classic Deadlands books. Absolutely, that's like his favorite system. Like he is to Deadlands what I am to Shadowrun,
Okay.
basically. But I've heard really good things about the Savage World edition. I've just never played it.
Glenn is asking, or it says, I've played Shadowrun in the Sprawl. I'm thinking the Sprawl is supposed to be another game. Glenn, you're gonna have to clarify for me because I have not heard of the Sprawl. Have you heard of the Sprawl?
It sounds familiar, but I can't place where I've heard it before.
He 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 thinks it's a Powered by the Apocalypse version.
Hmm.
Uh,
Interesting. I've heard of the Powered by the Apocalypse, but I've never heard of it having a Shadowrun version. The only other alternative Shadowrun, like official alternative Shadowrun that I know of, is Shadowrun Anarchy, which, yeah,
right, which is supposed to be their light or their rules
it's
light
more
version.
narrative focused. It's very weird and it probably is not a good idea to run with my group. Because my group, the Shadowrun. Okay, give you an example of how my group rolls in Shadowrun. Um, an exploding propane truck is their solution to 90% of the problems in Shadowrun. Whether it's blowing up a propane truck just out on the street or crashing it into something and then blowing it up, that is generally their solution, and it works surprisingly more often than you would think.
I
So
mean,
I don't know how they would because Shadowrun Anarchy. One of the things about that is, um, you take turns as the GM, and I just feel like that's probably not a good idea for my group. But it could be fun. I don't know. I may just one day just be like, hey guys, like let's go complete chaos.
yeah. So I think I found it. Arden's Ludaire. I have.
Oh, okay. So it's powered by the apocalypse cyberpunk. So it's not Shadowrun specifically, but it's cyberpunk. Okay, that
Yeah.
could be cool. That could be fun.
Um. I have never heard like this. This seems like a kind of off the wall, middle of nowhere. Um, I've literally never heard of this one. Anyhow, sorry.
It sounds like something I'm going to have to take a look at, maybe, and possibly do a video review of it. I don't know. We'll have to see.
I don't know. I don't know if I can trust you reviewing other like alternative ones. You liked Cyborg.
Cyborg is so I've not actually played Cyborg yet. I like the system and the book. When you look at it physically, it's a lot less painful than it is digitally.
Really? Because that thing, like, I've only
Yes.
ever seen it digitally, and it literally hurts my
Oh yeah.
brain.
No. 100% agree. The digital copy is almost impossible to read. I had to read it twice before doing that review. Um, just to make sure I knew what was going on. But when you actually see the print layout of it, it makes a lot more sense, and it flows better than if you're scrolling through a PDF copy of it. So Cyborg, probably any other of the Morkborg, either Morkborg or Pirateborg, those games are probably going to be the same. They probably are way better to read in person than on a PDF. And I think that's probably what turns a lot of people off from it is they're looking at the PDF and they're like, "My God, this actually hurts my brain,"
Yeah.
which is
Um,
fair because it hurt my brain.
exactly. So, real quick, Rachel says, "I love this state of mind for Shadowrun. Blowing things is fun as hell." I think that's in reference to your propane truck.
Yeah, no,
Um,
it makes for some really fun games. It really does. Um, it's just it's just frustrating as a GM to have, you plan things out and everything, and then they're like, okay, well, we take this propane truck and we crash it into the bad guy's hideout, and
s-
everybody's dead.
see,
And you're
to
just like,
me,
okay, well, now what the hell do I do?
I would kind of think, like, as a GM, it's like, okay, that's fine if you want to do that, but like after X amount of times doing so, Lone Star is going to be all up on your ass.
Yeah, Lone
Um,
Star's fine.
uh,
It's
or
fine.
Knight Errant, or who? My point is, the cops are going to come because
Yeah, so in my games, generally the cops are not present as much as they should be, because it's more fun that way. Now, I did do there was one run that they did where, the cops actually did get heavily involved, and they literally had to leave the country for a couple of weeks to let things die down. There was an adventure that they did where, they had to it was an extraction or something. I forget exactly what it was, but they essentially had to break into a corporate compound, an executive's mansion that had corporate security and everything. So they're like, okay, well, we're going to go ahead and kidnap his head of security and have him give us the layout and everything, and so that way we can go in, which, is a solid plan. Part of that plan was going to be they were going to have a fridge delivered to his house, to the head of security's house. They were going to intercept the fridge, and then one of the characters was a dwarf. He was going to hide in the box and pop out, stun the guy, and they were gonna you basically just carry him out of the apartment that the head of security was living in. So when their decker though went to um, went to do the whole order thing, he actually botched the roll. So the order for the fridge never got placed. So this random fridge shows up at this guy's apartment, and security in his place opens the box, so when the dwarf pops out, there's like 4 armed security guards around him. Um, it ends up being a running gun battle through the building where they end up kidnapping the guy and, his daughter and taking them hostage, and it ends with a car chase down the interstate where the rigger at one point botches his control rolls during the car chase with Lone Star and corporate security, and Knight Errant got in on the action as well at one point. And he botched his control roll and ended up crashing really hardcore, killed one of the PCs, injured everybody else. The troll that almost never that has this person has played this character as a tank for literally 10 years and I've never been able to kill this, almost kills the troll. The accident is that bad. And also kills the head of security as
They
well.
were so they didn't get to interrogate him anyways.
No, they didn't get to interrogate him. Mind you, this is all in the legwork section of the run. They haven't even gotten to the actual run proper yet. So yeah, they end up orphaning this kid because they still had her. She lived, thankfully, but injured and unconscious. And the troll gets out, stumbles out, and the troll's player, she just kind of, I'm describing the scene, and she just kind of looks down and she's like, okay, well, let's end this. And she walks towards the kid and pulls out her gun, and everybody's like, what the hell are you doing? She's like, we've got to finish her off. It's better for her, it's better for her to die than live as an orphan. Everybody's like, what the hell? So they ended up convincing her not to kill the child. And they ended up just running away. And got out of there before Lone Star showed up. And they ended up having to I forget what they ended up having to do, but they actually did have to leave the country for a couple of weeks after that.
Clearly the troll did not have much of a maternal instinct.
No, not one bit.
Yeah. So
but it was funny. That's like the moment in any of my Shadowrun games that my group remembers to this day. It was just because it was just so out of left field, and we still make fun of her for
it. I mean, that's one of those stories that's going to keep coming up.
Oh yeah, no, it doesn't matter any game. Like, we'll even Pathfinder, it's come up in jokes before. Like we'll walk into a town and somebody will be like, "All right, where's the orphanage?"
So you said that you've basically had the same group for about a decade. Is this in person or you guys play online usually?
It's in person.
Okay. How do you keep a group together for 10 years?
We don't like other people.
Okay.
For the most part. None of us really does anything else or goes anywhere to meet new people. I mean, you're married. They also like, the people who host, they cook as well. So, that keeps people coming back.
That's fair. That's fair.
No, it's just one of those things that I've got pretty much like most of my circle of friends in high school didn't go very far. Like I went the farthest out of anybody, and I just went down from Orlando to Miami. So, and then I came back. So,
right, and then back. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've all stuck around in the same area, and we've just, hung out repeatedly over that period of time.
Yeah,
Yes, Glenn, yes, I am brutally honest.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, like to me, I mean, that's actually kind of fascinating because, like I haven't. I think the closest I could say to that is, like, literally my family has been my most consistent gaming group, and even then, like, getting the kids to play anything is a stretch, and the fact that you've kept a group together, for 10 years, whatever the reasoning.
Well, I mean, longer than that, because the two of the people in the group I've literally known since high school. So I literally grew up with two of them. One of them has since moved away um, to North Florida, so we don't really see him anymore. But um, the other people that I hang out with, at least two of them again have been from that same high school group. So
That's
it's just I don't know. I don't know how to. There's no like. There's no formula or anything that we've done. It's just we just kind of like I said, we don't like new people, and we do the same stuff since high school. So yeah.
no, but yeah, I get that, and yes, I realize we're talking a little tongue in cheek, but it is still one of those things that like I'm always fascinated by
Hmm.
the people that are just like, yeah, I've had the same campaign running for for 10 years or
Hmm.
since high school, and I'm just like, I
Yeah.
haven't played enough games to even say that I've had. I would say that I haven't played enough games to say I've had a campaign.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I mean, don't get me wrong. We haven't done the same game or anything. Like we literally have not done the same game since high school.
oh sure, no,
The longest our games last is about a year, and then we move on to something else. So I think that helps keeps things a little fresh in our area too, because we're also willing to like try new stuff. I mean, hell, we did one gaming session of it wasn't My Little Pony. I forget what it was. It was something different. It was some other cutesy thing. It wasn't My Little Pony, but it was some other. It was like Hello. Someone found a Hello Kitty RPG or something. I think it was, and we
let
played that for a session.
let's just say that the peanut gallery is reading through My Little Pony right now and fully expects to play My Little Pony.
I
I am
mean, looking at the books, it looks like it might be legit.
so here's like so I've read like, and I've been bad because I haven't actually put out the review, and I keep saying that I need to get it done, but then I keep not doing it, but that's a whole separate problem. I read through like pretty much the entire GI Joe role playing game,
Hmm.
and it's the same system.
Okay.
They say that they've done a couple of things to simplify it for My Little Pony, but even then,
Mhm. Right, because I'm
character
sure My
sheets.
Little Pony is probably geared more towards kids.
Right, exactly. But it's still essentially the same system.
Mhm.
Now, admittedly, that makes me really, really, really want to do the My Little Pony GI Joe crossover just out of principle. Um,
I mean, you kinda have to. Throw Transformers in the mix too.
I mean,
So I know there's that Transformers RPG, which
and
I
it's
think is
the
the same company that does the G.I. Joe RPG too.
yes, it is.
So there you go. You could have the My Little Pony Transformers G.I. Joe mashup.
I see. I kind of want to keep it just to GI Joe and My Little Pony, and just ruthlessly slaughter the My Little Ponies. But that's just because I'm a horrible person. Um,
I mean, hey, when I was a kid, everybody played with My Little Ponies. Even the boys played with My Little Pony. Of course, they were usually mounts for my GI Joes, but
that's right, exactly.
or He-Man, my He-Man figures. They figured prominent. My cousin's My Little Ponies featured prominently in my He-Man games.
I mean that's fair, and I I mean I don't know what else you would use them for, but
I
yeah,
mean,
no,
monsters.
true. That's very true. Um, no, and I am being a little bit facetious. Like I will play it. I will play it straight or however it's going to be run
Hmm.
because Peanut Gallery puts up with a lot of my nonsense. I can sit through a session or two of My Little Pony.
Yeah, you can suck it up and do it to make her happy.
So, all right, so I'll pose it to you this way then. So what's the most off the wall game that your group has tried?
So the most off the wall we haven't really tried any off the wall games necessarily. We've had off the wall campaigns before. Probably the strangest game that we've played was a friend's weird not self-published because he never got that far, but he wrote it himself. It was like this martial arts RPG, and it was really stupid, but we humored him. But I lost interest like after an hour and just sat and watched Netflix while everybody else played. It was that it was that bad, and we've never let him run it again. Um, but I mean, we'll try most anything once. But we've had some off the wall campaigns. We did a paranoia one shot that was really fun. Or at least I had fun with it. Everybody else, I think, hated it, but I won, so that's all. That's all that I care about.
Hold on, you won at Paranoia?
Yeah, I was the communist spy, and
Got
my
it.
goal was to like kill everybody else. And I ended up doing that. I ended up destroying the where we were habitat that we were living in as well, but I won. But probably the most off the wall campaign that we've done is there was a little game called Demon Hunters, which I mentioned it earlier, but that was done by Margaret Weiss Productions when they did shortly after they did the Serenity RPG. And this was very much a freeform story focused RPG, very rules light. But the idea was you are um, basically a band of demon hunters from the Catholic Church. Um, but this was done based on material done by the same people that did Gamers Darkness Rising. So it was
Okay.
really off the wall and insane. And our campaign reflected that. We had somebody who was a sentient vampire hunter D cardboard cutout,
Fair enough.
like an actual movie promotional cutout. Um, we had somebody else who was a living Barney the dinosaur costume.
Not Barney
Um,
the dinosaur, just the costume.
yes, exactly. Yeah, not the actual Barney. He was just the costume. And he got really pissed off whenever anybody tried to make him sing the song, which we did make him do a couple of times. And then we had some other like there were like two other characters. One was like a werecat, and somebody was like a mercenary or something like that. So there were like these off the wall characters, and then there were these ones that were not so off the wall. But during this campaign, um, a couple of the events they did was, or a couple of the things they did was they robbed. I said it in our local town. They robbed the friendly local gaming store, um,
Okay.
while insisting that it was not a robbery. Basically, what they were doing is they were trying to find somebody who had stolen an artifact and was hiding out in the town. And this person was also a comic nerd, so they went to the game store to get information about him. Um, and the two of them went there, and they ended up inadvertently torturing the guy and robbing him. Um,
I mean,
which was
as
a
one
whole
does.
which was a whole thing. Um, they ended up uh, what else did they do in that campaign? They ended up um, killing and cooking an aboleth who was hiding in the lake in the town, who just wanted to be left alone and was fully ready to give them what they were looking for.
Like, I mean,
It's just they
he's
just didn't take it that far, and they ended up eventually completely nuking and destroying the town to kill a Trask. That was probably the most off the wall campaign that we've done.
so the short answer is collateral damage was not an issue.
It was not an issue, no. Um, and I initially resisted uh, the guy pulling out the nuke, because the guy who did it, he had an ability that literally, if he spent plot points, he could reach into his bag and pull out like any weapon he wanted. And different weapons cost like different amounts of plot points. Like a pistol would be like 1 plot point, a rifle would be 2, a bazooka would be like 3 or 4 or something like that. He had saved up like 8 plot points, and he's like, "I'm going to spend them all and pull out a nuke." I'm like, "No, you're not." He's like, "Yes, I am." And we argued about it for a couple minutes. And I was like, "Okay, fine. I'm going to roll a d6. If I roll a 6, you can do it." And I rolled a 6. So he did it, and he nuked the Tarask. And that was the
And
end
the
of the
town.
campaign.
And himself.
No,
And
he was flying in a helicopter, so he didn't nuke himself. Everybody else did.
so would you say that you are normally the GM, or are you a player, or is it a mix?
It's a mix. Generally we have 2 or 3 games going at any one time. I haven't GM'd anything recently just because my work schedule is funky. And I can't get out there as often as I would like to. But generally, we have like 2 or 3 games going at one time, and we'll alternate weeks. So that way, everybody spends a little bit of time as a player, a little bit of time as a GM, and nobody's like a permanent, perpetual GM.
Got it. Okay. Which do you prefer doing?
Honestly, I think I like GMing sometimes better than being an actual player. Because GMing, when you're a player, you don't have to go as deep into a game as you do when you're running it. And I like kind of diving into games a lot of times and kind of getting to know the game and really getting a feel for it. And I think being a GM allows you to do that better than just being a player.
True. Yeah, I mean, because it's not just having to know, you know, like your character sheet and your character abilities. It's, you have to understand what everyone else can do, and
Hmm.
how that'll work with the other players, things like that. So yeah,
Exactly.
I can see that.
Exactly.
Um, what's your favorite game to run?
I mean, Shadowrun, obviously.
Now
Like, without
you're just saying that.
it.
Well, my
No,
channel's
literally,
called the
Shadowrun is a
Six
game that I
World.
keep coming back to. Like, I've run other stuff before in the past, but Shadowrun is the one game that I keep coming back to, regardless of what I'm running. I've run fantasy, sci-fi, all that good stuff, but the one consistent thing is eventually I will go back to running a Shadowrun game of some kind, which is fine. I mean, I absolutely love Shadowrun. It is a great game. It is an exciting world,
What do you like most about
and
the world?
that's a good question. um,
This is
I've
interviewing
always
with ADHD, so I mean, like, trust me,
well,
these questions aren't planned.
yeah. So yeah, I can vouch for that. I did not get these questions ahead of time. These are not scripted answers. This is more extensive than a mainstream media interview. CNN, this is not. Um,
Dude, for the record, we're almost at 2 hours.
that's true.
Although
So
I haven't been paying attention, and you have gotten really far on that Death Dread.
yeah, I'm in the midst of the cheese now. So I sponged on some army painter demonic yellow. Any bright yellow will work. I usually thin it down with some airbrush thinner, usually like a 2-to-1 mix, so it doesn't clog up the detail. And then I sponge on some bone white, and next is going
Okay.
to be dead white from
I
Vallejo
mean,
to kind of finish out the cheese and get that nice Parmesan looking crust to it.
I love your pizza orcs. I honestly, I think I like the pizza orcs better than the pizza mechs. Just
Yeah,
because you get some extra color in there. The fact that you use it more for like the armor instead of, like the mechs where it's just the whole mech is a pizza.
Yeah,
Anyways,
yeah. There's more variation to it. Actually, let me go grab some of the ones that I've already finished. Hang on one second.
yes, we will show those off. For the record, folks, I like if you came in late, I love Six Worlds pizza orcs and pizza mechs because they look good and and they're like it's serious fun is the way I would put it, and I like it.
Just wait until you see the Grand Army of the Tatate Star Empire.
Of the what?
Yeah, so my next BattleTech project is I've decided is going to be uh Tatate mechs from Far Country.
Oh, that's right. You posted the pic. You're doing the bird people.
Yes. I got to figure out how to do it, but I am eventually going to do it.
You're
So,
ridiculous, sir.
this guy right here, this is the war boss that I did. I think he was the first one. The first pizza orc that I did.
I think so.
So with him I kept the pizza to the armor and tried for more of a traditional like more of a traditional orky feel, but with pizza on top of it. And the lore that I've tentatively got in my head for these guys is this is a group of orcs that they invaded a planet that pizza was like the planetary dish. And like during the war, there were these crazy delivery drivers that were delivering pizza to the front lines, and the orcs saw this. And of course, orcs being orcs, they thought this was fun as hell. So, they kind of like cease fire and demand that the Humies tell them what's going on. And they tell them, and they just think that's the best thing ever. And so they just go full bore into it, as orcs do. And like the WOG becomes this whole pizza delivery focused WOG led by Papa John's.
That okay. I mean,
I'll
and
eventually
it's
probably write something for it, but
and let's be honest, it's not the most ridiculous thing that we've heard in a 40K backstory.
no, it's really not. It's probably less ridiculous than some 40K canon stuff, actually. And then I got a Goth Rocker and converted him to Papa John's. So this guy, I haven't
Yes.
decided how I'm going to use him in an army. I think he's probably going to be either a mech or a weird boy.
I think I think Weird Boy.
Yeah, he's kind of got that weird boy feel to it, but also for a weird boy, I kind of want to get the savage orcs from Underworlds, because one of them, the leader in that one, I think he's got like this like it's a piece of a tree trunk, but it's like a mask, and I kind of want to do that up as a pizza.
I can see that. Nerdy Ogre asks, "Does Pizza the Hut rule over them?"
No, Pizza the Hut does not rule over them. Actually, Pizza the Hut is not has not entered my canon as of yet. He
I
might at some point. I am planning on.
I think
Um,
he needs to.
he does need to. I just need to figure out where he fits in with it. I am going to be doing, because I've still got my Votan box that I need to paint up at some point. I'm pretty sure I'm going to do the Votan up as Noids, as like an opposing force for the
Uh, Again, I fully support this decision.
orcs.
That is
if any
actually amazing.
if anybody doesn't know what the Noid is, look it up on Wikipedia. It is a very 80s
Actually,
campaign.
I've got a better one than that. Have you heard of the YouTube channel Secret Galaxy or Toy Galaxy?
I have not. No.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I mean I'm gonna have to send this to you as well. Um uh let's see. Yep, there we go. And I will don't worry, chat. I will put this in the chat for you. Sixth World, you can't necessarily copy from there, so I'll just send it to you directly.
Okay.
Anyways, basically they did like essentially it's a whole like mini documentary about the Noid, and where it came from.
Oh yeah, that's cool. I gotta. Yeah, the Noid is a wild story. It really is. It's the only advertising campaign that actually led to a hostage situation.
Yeah.
So for anybody who doesn't know, the Noid was the thing back in the 80s for Domino's Pizza, and the whole thing was that, you had to avoid the Noid because he would steal your Domino's pizza. They had a video game on Nintendo for it. It was
I had it on the PC.
Yeah,
It was
it
horrible.
wasn't a bad game actually. It was fun.
It was fun, but it was still pretty dumb.
Yeah, it was dumb, but it was one of my favorites to rent. But yeah, so one day in, I think it was Ohio or something like that. This guy walked into a Domino's Pizza and he took a bunch of hostages. And his he had demands like $1 million and a helicopter and that sort. But his number one demand was that they had to stop the Noid because his last name was Noid. And according to his family, he was not the most stable person.
I mean,
I think he was a paranoid schizophrenic, actually, but he actually got it into his head that Domino's was like the campaign was literally an attack on him. It was Domino's making fun of him.
oh geez.
So luckily, nobody was hurt in the hostage situation. But yeah, the Noid campaign ended shortly after that.
Yeah, and I think the Secret Galaxy video touches on that. It's been a while since I've watched it, but I'm gonna have to go back and watch it now. But yeah, it like that was literally just one of those things of the 80s, those commercials, um especially because like yeah, it was following on after the whole California Raisins campaign.
Yeah,
So is that like claymation was kind of a big deal. So yeah,
yeah.
it was just one of those weird things. But yeah,
These were
I
a
think
weird time, man.
and I miss them so much. Um
So many people doing all that cocaine was what it must have been.
I mean I
You know,
wasn't because I was like 8.
you're an
Um
advertising exec. What's the first thing you do when you go into a meeting about a new advertising campaign? You snort a line, you go on in. What are we going to do? I don't know. Let's make this weird, funky guy with these bunny ears call him the Noid and say he's got to steal pizza and throw it out there and sell a crap load of pizzas and make a whole bunch of money.
yeah, and
And
they
everybody else is like,
worked.
yeah, that's a great idea because they're all just as high as this guy is.
I I I think there may be some accuracy to that statement.
Probably.
Um,
Probably more than we think.
probably more than we want to admit.
Yeah.
Uh, um, yeah. So okay. That's one thing that I do want to ask. What made you start doing the pizza mechs? I mean, I know I love them, and I share them to my friend who hates them all the time. Like so. First off, he is just a fantastic painter. Actually, you know what? Speaking of, uh, so you know that I'm a big fan of Mantic.
Hmm.
Um, Anyways, he entered the Mantic Brush with Death contest.
Okay.
And for the diorama, this is his entry, and he won.
Ooh. Yeah, that's pretty.
Yeah, it really, like, it's like he'll show me stuff. It's like, oh, look at this thing I painted, and it's like, I hate you so much right now.
Look at this award-winning mini. It took me 2 hours.
It's something like that, and it's just like, you're such a jerk. He's not, but you know, still. Anyways, so like it just makes me laugh because like I love the pizza mechs, and so anytime I see one, I not any like 9 out of 10 times when I see one, like I'll copy the pictures and I'll be like, or no, I won't even copy the pictures. I'll just send him the Twitter link and say, hey, check this out, and then he gets mad at me.
And I fully encourage that. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's not really a fun story necessarily, but so back when I came back to BattleTech, I wanted to do my own mercenary unit because that's like, let's be honest, that's half the fun of BattleTech is you can do your own thing and still be like 100% within canon, be playable, and you don't, it's you're not locked into anything specific. Like you don't have to play as one of the great houses or as one of the clans. You can just play as whatever you want, call it whatever you want, and you're good to go. So I
Yep.
always wanted to do my own mercenary company, but I couldn't think of a scheme for them. So I was like, okay, well, why don't I go just look at some custom cars on Google, because that's what a mech is at the end of the day. It's you know it's like it's a giant car on two legs with cannons and lasers and war crimes and all that stuff. Um, so I was looking through these custom car wraps, and I see this one custom car that it's a pepperoni pizza, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, I can do that. And it wasn't even like, oh, I can do this as a unit or I can do this as a scheme. It's like I can actually probably paint that. And that was followed up by, well, yeah, let's try it and let's see how it looks. And I did it and it looked pretty good, and it kind of snowballed from there.
I mean, like, how many mechs have you done now?
I think Pizza Mechs, I think the last count was 37, 38.
Jeez.
It was a lot. Not all of them are of the highest quality. Um,
Well, the early ones,
yeah, the
you
early
had to come
the,
up with the
yeah,
technique.
the early ones, I was still finding out the scheme. Actually, let me get one of the early ones. Get up and walk around to where I go.
Yeah, 38 mechs, the same paint scheme. Like, I mean, for those of you who aren't familiar, like in my case, that doesn't happen. And so to get 38 of them, and they're not even all exactly the same. Some are supreme, some are pepperoni, some are vegetarian. He mixes it
Yes.
up a little bit.
So this King Crab, this was one of the first ones that I did.
Okay.
So you can see it's
It's
technically
definitely
competent. It's all
pepperoni.
fair, yeah. But I mean, Yenlo Pizza is of a higher quality than this one right here.
Sure.
I think.
But again, it's progress.
Yeah.
You're doing great. Nerdy Ogre wants to know: do the pizza mechs have manhole cover launchers?
No. And if I had better sculpting skills, I probably would do something like that.
I
my my
mean,
my sculpting skills are horrible, so the best I can do is like sculpt a crappy pizza and a block of cheese.
but you paint a very mean looking block of cheese, so there's that. You know. You
Yeah,
can.
this was actually complete accident, and damned if I could tell you exactly how I did it, but it really does look like moldy, nasty cheese. And I have absolutely no idea what color combination I used to get that. It started, believe it or not, with yellow, and somehow there's green in there, and I don't know where the green came from. It's like it's one of those happy accidents.
No, that I mean, again, there it is just one of those things that it's so ridiculous that, like, it while normally, I try to go for a little bit of realism to it, um but sometimes you find something that's so just ridiculous that that you can't help but have fun with it.
Yeah, well,
And
and I think orcs are more suited to that than other 40k armies. Because I mean, I thought about doing it with Space Marines, for example. I don't
no.
think it would look as good on Space Marines. Like you could do it on Space Marines, no problem, because they're mostly armor. But I don't think it would look as good as it does on orcs.
Well, again, it goes back to what I was saying earlier, that serious fun,
Yeah,
where you're taking you're taking something that like the Paul Bonner art, it's it's a quote unquote serious situation, but just there's a little bit of exaggeration or a little bit of a twist that just puts it a little bit more cartoony and just a little bit more fun.
yeah.
And I think the orcs are best suited for that.
Oh yeah, easily. I mean, the orcs they've had their serious moments throughout 40k, but I mean, by and large, the orcs have just been big, fun mushrooms that just want a good fight. I mean, that's about as deep as their lore gets for the most part in any
Yeah.
edition.
Glenn says about the block of cheese. Maybe it's just an old mini and it molded itself.
I mean, I sculpted that out of green stuff that was pretty fresh, so that's kind of concerning. That's the case. Makes me wonder how old that green stuff is that I used.
All right. So, all right, then let's see. So, what's been your biggest challenge in doing all of this, all of your painting?
Just finding the time to do it is the biggest thing. I mean, it sounds pretty cliche because every painter's like, "Oh, I can't find the time for it." But I mean, it really is it really is a challenge sometimes to get any hobbying time is because you got work, you got family. I've got a kid. He's autistic, so he needs a little bit more attention sometimes than most kids would. But that's the biggest issue. It's just finding time for it.
Okay. Um, yeah, I mean, obviously that's one of my big challenges. Like I'll be honest, like I turned my camera off because like I just washed both of these figures and it's just like, okay, that stuff's not drying anytime soon. So uh but yeah, like for me, I mean that's one of the reasons that I started doing these painting streams is just because otherwise I'm not going to do it.
Hmm.
Like I've worked the last 7 days and like my desk is so like if I'm facing like this, I'm at work. If I'm facing like this, I'm at the painting table.
I just
Notice
wish I
how
had a
far
desk
I
big
moved.
enough for that. I've got a like I was telling you off the stream. My computer desk is a very small corner desk, and then my painting desk is actually my wife's old computer desk, which has a lot of space on it, but it's kind of tough having everything in two different spots.
Yes.
Which is why I don't stream very much because I it's a pain in the butt to set things up and get comfortable and all that good stuff.
Sure. Oh yeah. No. No. Exactly. But yeah, it's still just one of those things of finding the ways to make the time for it.
Hmm.
But I think, I mean, obviously you've been able to do it because you've gotten 38 pizza mechs, and then how many of your orcs have you gotten done?
Actually, not a lot. Most of my orcs are still unassembled. Um, I've done
I can
in it.
relate.
Yeah, like in addition to these guys, I think I've done like two or three other orcs. And then I've got like a death copta over here that I'm working on,
Hmm.
which honestly has been a pain in the butt. So I'm not looking forward to the other two. Um, um, so yeah, I haven't done as many orcs as I would like, but that's just because I just yeah I get bored of stuff and I work on other stuff and I come
Sure.
back to what I was bored on before and I'm not bored anymore.
Yeah, I mean that like for me that's why like, anytime you show up to a paint stream it's like, Brian's going to be painting who knows what,
Hmm.
because I I just it's whatever my brain will focus on.
Yep. Yep.
Um
Yep.
but yeah, regardless, I think your stuff is really good. Um and it's been so much fun to see you posting those. Um
It's been fun to post them. I like it. I like seeing the reaction to some of them.
what's been your favorite reaction to them so far?
I think that in general, I think it's just the with the pizza orcs in particular. I think it was just the sheer amount of joy that the Warhammer 40K community greeted them with. Like I posted one, like I posted like the first time I posted the pizza mech, I got like comments like, "But why?" And like but with the 40K stuff, it's been very positive. It's like lots of just wog general comments and that sort of thing. So people really seem to like the pizza orgs more than the pizza mechs. But maybe that's just because they're reaching different people in different communities.
Yeah, well, and I think for BattleTech there is very much a more of a how do I want to put it? I don't want to call it a serious bent because even though that's not I would actually say that's probably more accurate. Um, Whereas, especially with orcs and the 40K community, well, that, I think with the 40K community, I think if you had done it with Space Marines, I think you probably would have gotten the same reaction as like the pizza mechs.
Probably, yeah, yeah,
Um, but again, with the orcs, I think you can get away with it a little bit more. But then on top of that, they do look really good.
yeah, yeah.
So,
And I think with BattleTech, there's also more of a grognard thing with it. Um, there's a lot more people in BattleTech have played BattleTech since the '80s when it first came out than people who played 40K who played Rogue Trader.
right.
So I think that probably factors into it as well. I think the old grognard community is less. I don't want to say less accepting, but they maybe understand it less than other communities might.
Yeah, no, and I can see that to a point. Um, yeah, it's whatever. They're dumb. Um,
Not to say the reaction's been like negative or anything like that. I mean, by and large, most people love it. They think it's hilarious. But every now and again, you get the people that are like, "Oh, this is stupid," and you're like, "Well, okay, well, you hate fun and you're stupid,
yeah,
and you're probably a Capellan to boot." So
and you're
nobody,
probably
your opinion matters nothing.
exactly. Okay, well, at this point, it's been 2 hours, and while I want to stay and talk with you more, I have to go to bed.
Yeah, go get some sleep so that way you don't pass out.
So, but we are so first off, we're gonna say our proper goodbyes off stream, so don't run away just yet. But before we go, I do want you to shill your stuff again. Tell people what it is that you do, where they can find you, where you want them to find you, you know, um, and because let's get you some more followers and get you some more traction on your channel.
Yeah, sure. So I run the Sixth World YouTube channel. Uh, It is at the Sixth World. You'll see it up on the screen. You can find it right there. I focus on Shadowrun for the most part, lore and old school Shadowrun reviews, but I also stray into other TTRPG topics and stuff like that, and just do some general chats and things like that with an RPG focus. Um, on Twitter or X, I don't even remember what my I don't even remember what my username is on Twitter, but if you go to my channel, you will find all my social media links over there. I am most active on Twitter. I usually post videos 1 to 2 times a week. I haven't posted anything the last couple of weeks because everybody at my house has been sick, myself included. But I will have something coming later this week, and I will do more videos next week. But it's usually every Monday and Friday. I have a video. Other than that, I am most active on Twitter, Instagram. I've got not as active on that, but yeah, stop by, have some fun, talk some Shadowrun. It'd be really cool. I might do more live streams now that I've got a setup that actually works and is not extremely uncomfortable for me.
All right. Well, we're going to have to definitely do this more often. Maybe we'll get some more people in on it. But
Oh yeah,
regardless,
that'd be a blast.
thank you for doing this with me. It's been an absolute blast, like you said. And I am glad that I didn't push this off this time, you know. And we
Yeah, me
finally
too.
got this done. But otherwise, it was a pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much for doing it. Everybody,
Yeah,
seriously, go subscribe to his channel, watch some of his stuff, get to know some of that good old classic Shadowrun. But other than that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to end the stream. Thank you so much for watching. It'll probably just end awkwardly, but you're not going to notice for Six World because he's already not on camera. And I guess I